You're actually making us use coasters.
What?
You're actually making us use these granny coasters.
It's Mrs. W.
Mrs. W will tits up. I'm sure we can charge her through that door if she sees
Do
you
you think you're
putting it
dying,
on your
yeah?
table.
The freeze will be like that.
What?
We can get a runner if you want one of those, a long runner.
This is very civilised.
You can move it, you see if the coaster's bothering you, you can take it away, but you can give Carolina I'll give Carolina a phone, you can explain why there's a big fuck off ring on the table, on the new table.
Hi there, my name's Tony Neal. I'm the founder of Animalia Apparel and Animalia Sport and Fitness. I also work for Street Games, which is looking to help kids throughout Scotland and the UK basically become active and fed during the seasons, summer, winter, autumn and spring. And I'm here today to talk about my experiences of mental health, and hopefully that can help.
Hi, I'm Graham Wilson. I write a blog called Graham Wilson Undrunk. I am an alcoholic and have had a lifetime of experience with mental health issues. I also get involved in a bit of motivational speaking and trying to let people that know that it's okay to say that you're not okay.
I'm Paul Thomas Bell. I am a sports presenter, blogger, writer, journalist, public speaker, all that nonsense. And these two are two of my best mates in the world, and we have come obviously to talk about mental health issues. And you probably won't find two or three people better to talk about it, because we are all ridiculously open, would you say? Like probably too open for our own good. But I guess that's the aim. You know, we're just trying to do our little bit to encourage guys to open up. And Graham certainly writes about all this stuff you probably wouldn't believe. If to know him now and to know his writing is like two different people, but it's really fascinating and very educational as well. And Tony, you make videos where you're kind of like, Tony, I can't believe you just admitted that on camera, but you're doing a hell of a good thing in doing it. So yeah, we're all just pretty open and honest about it. And as I say, too honest for sure.
Definitely. Some people ask me why are you so honest? And I'm saying, well, I've lied my whole life, so I had to stop somewhere and I stopped lying and started telling the truth. And folk are telling you you're too honest sometimes, and I don't think you can ever be too honest if you're talking about if you're talking about life or death situations. You know, likes a drinking weed killer, as I often talk about. People say, well, did you really do that? Why did you just say that? And I'm saying, because that's how far I had gone. And
that's one way of introducing you to Graham's past. I drank weed killer, so straight away hit them at the deep end. But yeah, that is the problem, and that is why we're kind of here, is because men do struggle to open up so much. And whereas some people might be embarrassed or really shy away from opening up, or for example, I know you guys will admit that some of the stuff that you guys open up about, you would be forgiven for being embarrassed or even ashamed for some of it, which again, I know you won't mind me saying. But it's actually one of the things that I respect the most about these two guys, and that's why I think it's fantastic that you guys do what you do.
I don't know about you, Tony, I find it really difficult sometimes to open up and say what you think.
But it never holds you back.
No, it doesn't, but I find it toe curling, some of the stuff that I say. And because you're thinking, did I really do that? And you're like, well, I did. And it's, aye.
Well, there is times when I've posted things and I won't lie that I just go, I don't really know how people respond, but see, at the same time, I'm like, well, this is me being honest. I would rather tell the truth with it, and if it's something as extreme as drinking weed killer, I'm just being honest and real. You're not trying to sugarcoat it, and I think too many people try and sugarcoat things. I think honesty is a major part of mental health. If you lie about things, whether it's if, say for example, I just didn't want to come today, and I just made up this big excuse. It'd have been better for me just to actually be honest with you and say I didn't want to come, because that's going to then hurt my mental health or hurt my head for days and days and days, plus I've lied to somebody. So for me, I might be seen as maybe taking risks sometimes by being so open, because there could be employers out there, potential people that want to work with me, they might go, "Oof, I don't want to work with him because he's he might be a bomb scare." But I'm willing to take that risk. I'm happier in my life.
I agree. That's it. I get a great sense of relief once I've spoke about it, and I think speaking about what's in your head out loud helps you. And at the end of the day, if it helps somebody else at the other end of that you never find out, or very rarely will you find out that you've helped somebody by what you've said or what you've wrote or what you've done.
Yeah.
And it's never ever about that for me.
No.
You know, it's no about speaking. You know, I hope. I want to help people, but if I don't, I've spoke my mind. So
that's one of the things I love about you two, and I don't know why I'm being so nice to you both, because you do give me quite a hard time, as our camera crew have seen already this morning. But
your staff, because you turned up late.
Yeah, I was late, yeah, and sometimes people are late in life, but of all the times that I've read your writing or watched your videos, Tony, like, you've opened up about so many subjects on such a personal level, but never once has there been a sort of poor me feel. It's always been about helping people, helping yourself sometimes as well, because it's quite therapeutic, but more than anything, it's always been aimed at, you know, raising awareness or making people realise that it's okay to feel this way. And I've never once got that sense of pity for you guys, or, you know, it's never been about you, even though it is about you.
It's funny you say that, because when you do it, it's I do get messages, and it's funny because some people, I can't tell who's watched it whether they like it. If they like something, then you can see. But you do get messages asking, "Tony, hope you're okay." Do you know what? I'm more than okay. This is just a way of me dealing with it. Like you say, it's quite therapeutic. This is my form of therapy. It's not. It genuinely isn't for somebody to worry about me.
You watch one of Tony's videos and you think he's not okay because he's just had this big speech about mental health and whatnot. But then if you stay tuned on his Instagram, you'll see that the next video is him singing along to bloody Madonna or something. So you know that he's okay.
Anything goes.
Yeah, he likes a bit of carpool karaoke anyway. So
just as you were talking earlier on, say about the pity pot as such, you know, the poor me's. I lived my life when my mental health was at the rock bottom, and I was drinking alcoholic as I done. I was full of poor me's. It was all about me. You know, I wanted everybody to feel sorry for me, and it's a shame for me, and it's a shame for that. And the unfortunate thing with mental health and my mental health was I was the last one to find out I was mentally ill. Everybody else around about me knew there was something wrong with me, because they had been the brunt of what I'd been saying and what I'd been stealing, what I'd been doing, but I was the last person to know. And sometimes I was nearly too late because I tried to kill myself. But everybody's mental health journey is different. That's the seriousness of it.
See, what's interesting about you as well, Graham, is that you are 4 years sober, which is obviously a huge achievement. Knowing you as the person that you are today and reading your writing, I can see that, you know, the progress you've made is unbelievable. Like, you literally wouldn't believe it was the same person, but you're even with what you've achieved, being 4 years sober, you're still not, look at me, I'm 4 years sober. You're still very much like, I'm a work in progress. It's a day-to-day journey. I'm doing all right. I'll talk about it, but I'm far from perfect.
Do you think the same? My mental health's all over the place.
I totally agree. I think even like I say, you do a video and you still feel good. There are times when you've major wobbles. Like, it's not like I'm perfect. I still have the same issues, but it's what I've learned is how to live with them, not to panic about them. That's my biggest thing. How to learn with it rather than try to fix it. You'll never really fix it and cure it. It won't go away. You still kind of need it to make you.
That's a fantastic point.
So it's just learning how to deal with it. It's even with the challenges. like we've got this, the Ben Nevis thing coming up, and after I done it last year, I didn't walk for months properly. Like I didn't do loads of steps, didn't do loads of training, and people will ask, they'll say things like how to train for it. So I'm just using the physical aspect, and it's just a matter of, even for me, building that back up again. And I think when it comes to mental health, you still need to work on the attributes of that, if that makes sense. You need to work on your triggers or your the things that help you understand it or help you deal with it, whether that's locking yourself in a cupboard for 10 minutes and doing breathing, whether it's singing Madonna in the car, whether it's speaking to your friend, whether it's doing a video, dating or something.
Lock yourself in a cupboard. There's advice for claustrophobics right there. Don't lock yourself in a cupboard and breathe for 10 minutes.
I don't know if you guys are the same as me, but the way that I see my mental health is, it's fantastic when it's on game, but the bad stuff's just sitting there waiting for a chink in my armour.
Yeah.
So as you're mentioning there, my bad mental health or my headspace going wrong, it's generally waiting for me to stop doing what's good for me. My walking, my exercising, healthy eating.
Beating me at
You
squash.
know, beating Paul at squash. He beat me. He nearly beat me last, but we'll not go down there. So all that good stuff. When I stopped doing that, the bad mental, or my bad headspace, or my bad thoughts, or I can't be bothered, or things like that. As I said to you earlier on, I remember when I was at my worst, I get such a sense of relief of shutting the curtains because I couldn't see out, and more importantly, nobody could see in. And honestly, it was like Christmas morning when I shut the curtains. It could be 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the curtains would be shut, and I'd be like, God, that's brilliant. I've shut everything out, so it goes away. Still left with the mental health though, and then it just goes south from there. But I used to get such a sense of relief for shutting everybody else out, and that was the easy option. And I don't know if you agree to it, but the easy option is never, for me with my mental health, the easy option's never the best one.
No.
So it's hard work.
Like definitely, you need to put yourself out there. And what I do now is I've got the way my living room's set up, there's no light coming in, but it's like my little space, but it's not like a panic space. It's because I'm on social media, I'm so active on a lot of things, and I can do 10 minutes with my little blue light shining and my rain music on for 10 minutes, just breathing, and all it is just clearing my head. So if anything that I've thought of during the day or the week or something's bothered me, I can then think rationally about it rather than panicking and hitting the destruct button. Still do hit the button now again, it just doesn't get pressed as often, but it's still going to be there.
I feel like I'm going to need to make a big confession soon, because Graham's admitted to drinking Weed Killer and Tony's admitted to listening to rain music. So,
I don't know if
I need to say it's just as bad.
I like listening to rain.
No, in all seriousness,
Very
it's about what works for you, isn't it?
I speak to you quite a lot about how I feel and what I feel about myself, looking at myself, looking about myself, so looking in the mirror, and not the body watching.
Yeah.
And that's a form of mental health. That's one of my downfalls, is hating myself. I hate myself, but hating the way that I look because I've put on weight, or I know that I'm eating wrong, and that's one thing I don't think guys talk about enough. Is they see it as feminine. You can't speak about your hair not being nice. You can't speak about your belly being big. You can't speak about losing your hair. Anything like that. I've just turned 40 and there's hair coming out of bits that I didn't think existed. I hate it.
What does that mean?
It coming out my nose and out my ears.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? It's horrible. And I speak to you when we go to the squash and when we go out, because I can. But I don't know. I don't obviously go to many pubs, but I don't know if I would stand in a pub and say to somebody, "Oh, I'm not quite happy with my weight," because you know that you would get the absolute.
Yeah, but you've definitely made progress as well though, because we did that photo shoot for you. We organised that photo shoot for you to promote the blog, and I know that was a bigger step for you than you went on at the time. Basically sent him down the Clyde side for some reason, probably.
Nothing, man.
Which was quite ironic, because that's where most people drink, isn't it?
That's where I drank a lot. I slept down there for a couple of sessions.
In a weird, nice way, it was nice for you to revisit an old haunt in a positive way.
It was.
I like that.
Because we spoke about
like
this
that.
recently, because about you revisiting places that were previously had associations with alcohol to you, and now you're going and sort of making new memories in these places, almost like you're overwriting the, is that a word, overwriting?
Aye.
Or
What am I trying to
making
say?
peace with the
Aye, well,
place.
putting away, because moving, having moved into the new house, the last house I was in
It's very nice.
was
very nice.
we're in a studio, we're in.
Oh yes, we're in that big fancy studio. We've just had to switch the fridge off, but we're in a fancy studio, and he's got his bloody chicken breasts over there defrosted. Yeah.
Diet Coca-Cola.
These really cracking cups.
Aye. But what was I saying there?
I don't know.
Like revisiting
Aye,
places.
but you know, the last house I was in was full of bad memories. You know, that's where I had tried to commit suicide. You know, that's where I had, you know, messed myself because I was so drunk. That's where I had been sick all over the wall. That's where I had fell asleep out in the back garden. All that stuff. There was good memories there, but I forgot them all because of the bad stuff. No, I could never walk into the bedroom in the old house and walk by the bottom of the bed and not think, this is where I got brought back to life. This is where Carl-Anne found me when I had taken all the tablets. And if I couldn't do that, how could she do it? Because I don't remember lying at the bottom of that bed. She was having to do that night after night after night. Just come in and remember tubes going down my throat. It must have been horrific for her. But moving away from there, that's I'm now starting to remember the good stuff that happened in that house. If that makes sense. I couldn't remember the good stuff when I was there because the bad stuff was so prevalent. It was there. Now that I've moved away, I'm starting to see some of the good stuff that happened. You know, and it's quite.
Yeah.
That association can sometimes not be good. I certainly wouldn't go to some old drinking haunts. But I'm not frightened to go anywhere. I've had that time of running away for things, and I still do it to a certain extent. As we spoke about earlier on, running away for the gym. I get frightened of the gym because I felt it was as if that body watching stuff, everybody around about me looked muscly and looked better than me in my head. So what did I do? I done the easy option. Stop going. That's it. Simples. So it's not the easy option for my mental health because I'm missing out in the gym and I'm missing out in this and I'm missing out in that. But it is the easy option for me.
Simple as like a quick fix.
Because then I'm taking away that problem that I don't need to look at somebody that's ripped, but they've worked out for 15, 20 years. I've worked out for 3 months. You know, and that's what I do. And it's still, I'm not going to lie, it still happens today, as I've spoken about earlier on. It's one of my flaws, one of many flaws, but it's something that I do all the time, is run. I take the easy option. Tuesday night, I was feeling ill, but I could have went, but I was frightened of the crowds.
You never told me that.
Well, I'm telling you now. But I was ill, I wasn't feeling well.
Thanks again
But
for coming, Tony.
I wasn't feeling that badly.
Anytime.
I was feeling bad that I didn't want to go, but
Yeah.
I wasn't in a good space. I wasn't in a good place that I didn't want to go. So again, you take the easy option and you don't go.
See, to be fair on that, I'm not trying to make you look worse, right? I was actually not going to come, but it was genuinely because I had a presentation on the Wednesday morning. I was going to
What
London.
supportive friends I have. This was a show I was hosting the other night, and neither of them bloody wanted to come.
No. I wanted to come and support Paul, but I was panicking about what I had to do to my bosses because it was the first time I was going to meet them. And then sometimes when the way I deal with things, I look at time and go, I've not got enough time to do that. It turns out that I did everything I had to do in the day. I went to the Ladbrokes. I went to what do you call it? I spoke with my friend after it that was there. He didn't need a chat, but we just ended up opening up. Went home, done my work, and then went to London and done well. So looking at that, I could have just went, no, I'm not going to do any of that. So I'm getting better at that, but I can see why.
My default switch is wrong.
It's just, you just do that. And the gym thing as well, I can see one of the issues with gym, exercise, fitness is people always seem to want to punish themselves. So for me, mentally this time of year, it's probably the worst for people, I feel, because they feel they're going to punish themselves for having a good time at Christmas. That's baffling. You punish yourself for having a good time. So it's like when you go to exercise should never be about punishing your body. It should be a celebration of what your body can do, whether that's lifting 1 kilo, 20 kilo, whatever, or running half a mile, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
shouldn't. What you can do in your body is your body, so it shouldn't be compared to everybody else, which is, it is easy to do. And then even the other side of that, I feel myself personally, I look better now than I did a year ago. And I took a picture of myself. Now I don't really want to take a picture.
No.
How baffling's that? Like, I'm worried
Aye.
because being in fitness or that, people always just assume, I don't know, that you're like that.
Aye.
See the amount of times that if I've tried to date a girl and they think are you the bad PT, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I like to think I'm a nice PT. I care about people.
What do you mean the bad PT?
Like people that a PT that'll just punish or
Shouting
train
bully.
somebody so they're sweating, they're shouting at them. I'm like that. My philosophy in PT is teach somebody how to exercise safely and then encourage them to go wherever they want to go. Whether it's a run, squash, golf, football, whatever it is they feel.
I was doing a lot of my. I find it very hard to get fit for my body. I generally get fit because I know what it does to my head, and that's my thing. Is that's how I've started walking around again. Is because, well, running a mile every night, but I'm still running, and I have seen a huge difference. And I
See, what you were saying about the crowds as well, about the other night and stuff, like, obviously I work in the media, and I've always been very honest about, you know, when it comes to my own mental health, I'm very honest and very fortunate to be able to say that I've never really had any major issues. You know, I'm not sat here trying to pretend that I've had really bad depression or anything like that. I think depression is a word that's thrown about very lightly.
Yeah.
But what I have had is the everyday issues that if you don't address could easily escalate. Things like stress, a little bit of anxiety, grief, which was a huge one for me. But when you work in the media, it's like your head has to be spot on because you're literally on show with a crowd of people around you. You don't just have to be okay, but you have to be in a kind of mindset to be able to perform almost, you know.
Yeah.
So if you're not, you know, I remember sitting during the day on Tuesday and just thinking, oh my god, I'm going to do this, I have to do this tonight. But the truth is, I love it, I absolutely love it, and when I get out there I'm totally in my element. But if you overthink it, like, I know myself, it'd be very easy just to sort of go into complete panic mode and just get out there and freeze, or just not be able to show up at all. Like, it's like the sort of expectations on your mental strength is quite unbelievable sometimes. So I'm very fortunate that I haven't had major issues, you know. But you know, even thinking about what you were saying about, you know, you couldn't face the crowds, like, I completely get that, because you do, even if they're not, like, you do feel like everyone's watching you, especially when you are feeling anxious. That is when your head kind of goes into overdrive. You almost become very paranoid. You think everyone is watching you. Yeah. Like, even when I'm in the gym sometimes, like, I'm a bit of a people watcher in a very non-creepy way. But it's funny because you look around and I always go, you know, people do get a bit self-conscious about going to the gym, and sometimes I look around and go, no one else is looking around, like, no one's watching anyone, everyone's got their headphones in, getting on with their own thing, like. But a lot of people, they do sort of go to the gym thinking everyone is looking at me, like, but it's not always the case. But that's your head that does that, you know.
I think sometimes I do anyway. I think I'm more important than I actually am.
Yeah.
And I've done that a lot of times when I was drinking. I thought, I need to go out
Yeah.
because they're going to miss me. Whereas they're not actually giving a monkey's where I'm there or not. And that's it. I sometimes get into that mind path that I'm more important than I actually am.
The subject of appearances though is quite fascinating, because again, with my job, like, you're never going to look perfect, do you know what I mean? We're all human at the end of the day, but it's something that you kind of have to be aware of as well. And appearance was something that I was always very self-conscious of as a kid, and I wouldn't necessarily say it was mental health issues, but it's something I look back and it's kind of my first memories of being very insecure or something not being quite right. Like, I can't remember if I told you this before, but like, I've certainly wrote about it. Like, even my ears, like, I zero issues with my ears right now, but when I was about 10 or 11, I used to hate my ears. I thought they were huge. I thought they stuck out. I used to wear beanie hats to bed, just hoping that they would just stick in a little bit. My mum caught me with double-sided tape one time, trying to stick them to the side of my head. And one day she just grabbed me and went, "Look, you're being ridiculous." She flattened them at the side of my head and she went, "Look how ridiculous that looks when they're flat against your head." And I was like, "Do you know, actually, you're kind of right, you know." I don't know if you've ever seen Luis Suarez's ears. I really shouldn't mock another man, but
Suarez,
his ears are like completely glued to the side of his head.
I've not got any earlobes. What?
You do.
I get that all the time, see with young people. And that was one of the best things I've done, work with young people, with kids.
I'll get your
I
strength up.
never noticed that.
Because they always used to ask what happened to your earlobes.
Yeah.
So I'd make up stories.
But
It was my height. I hated my height.
But see, learning to accept my flaws, like that was one of the best things I ever did. Like, I don't know, just
No,
just was,
I
you know?
think as well for me, like
No
I've
one's
got
perfect.
my finger here. I had that chopped, about it chopped when I was 5 years old. Put my hand in the door. My dad was doing something in the garden. My friend Peter came in the door, and then the wind blew the door shut, and the top of it came off, and then I broke the top of it because I was in Edinburgh about 5 years ago. And I was in the sea trying to see how far I could go. It was about May, so it was quite chilly. Came back in, my mate thought it'd be funny to pull my shorts down. Another guy, thinking because it's cold and that. And I tried to do his, and then my finger popped. So I don't really notice this, but I had an ex-girlfriend who was quite good for me, that she saw a lot of my flaws, but liked my flaws, and that kind of helped me realise that your flaws can be somebody's perfection, if that makes sense. They make you. Like if you get wee scars or anything,
I just always sort of said, listen, if there's things you don't like that you can do something about it and stop whinging. And if there's things that you don't like but there's nothing you can do about it, you just need to find a way to get over it.
Accept it,
It's as simple
embrace
as
it.
that.
Acceptance is huge.
Yeah.
Acceptance that you're imperfect for me is huge. I need to accept that my mental health's there to stay. It's there forever. And accept that I'm going to sometimes be a bit abnormal. Quite a lot.
I think to be fair, even what you were saying, Paul, about you've not had any major issues, I still think that you'll have things that we've not dealt with. Everybody's got something going on, so I wouldn't like to think my stuff's harder than yours. I think our stuff's hard to each other, but you've got your own experiences. Because I think people forget that. They might look at me and go, "Well, that's him," because I was on sertraline. This is day 8. Me went to Turkey, so people might look at that and go, "Oh, he really has had a hard time," and blah blah. But I'm just feeling a bit down, so and that might put them into feeling worse in a way it shouldn't. I don't want people to compare me like
it's
that.
definitely
But
not a competition. I just think, you know, you have to recognise what people have been through. You know, I would probably argue you guys have had a much harder time than me, but it is different things. As I say, like, you know, I think having never had any major mental health issues, like, I feel really blessed by that, because I've seen some of the things that you guys have gone through, and some of the things that I have went through. I'm not saying I'm stronger than you guys. I think I'm just luckier than you guys. I have really had to kind of work really, really hard on for it to not escalate. Like, you know, you guys know that I had a loss in my life, and that was the hardest thing I've ever went through in my life. But I was very fortunate. I had great people around me, and eventually I kind of got, you know, you don't get over it, but like you deal with it in different ways. But I worry more about the stuff that I kind of went through as a kid, because there's things that I was going through as a kid that I didn't even realise were an issue at the time. And I think again, I was very lucky that I got over it, because I never spoke to anyone, I never did anything about it. It was literally like just growing out of it. I had very bizarre little cases of OCD when I was younger. Like when I was like 8 or 9, I did the whole light switch thing. Like honestly, like I was that kid, and I look back and I go, what the hell was I doing? Like I cannot explain it. I used to have this thing where I had to touch everything in a room before I left it. Like, you know, if I was going out somewhere, my mum would be shouting me, and I would be like in my bedroom, and I'd be like that. I'd just be like touching everything, like clock on the wall and everything before I left. I cannot explain it to this day, and I snapped out of it very early on, so maybe it wasn't a real issue, maybe it was just a very strange little phase, but things like that, I go, what was that all about? I also used to do this thing where I'd have I'd be walking down the street and I'd have a bad thought in my head, and what I would feel the need to do is to turn back and retrace those steps without having the bad thought, and like I can laugh about it because I'm like, that's so bizarre.
One place.
But then it's like, but I remember one day, the day I snapped out of it was, I remember I did it and I thought I was alone in the street, but there was like someone across the road just like watching me like walk back and forth, like trying not to have bad thoughts in my head. And I'm laughing, I'm also crying inside a little bit going, what was wrong with me? But it's just really, it's really funny. Like I'm saying, I've never had any major issues, and you'd probably disagree with me after hearing those two stories. But it's just funny how easily you could sort of slip into something and how easily it could escalate. You know?
I think one of the things that, and I'm not here to preach in any way, shape or form, but one of the things people have got to be very wary of is comparing them to another individual.
Mm.
My bottom of the barrel is different from Tony's bottom of the barrel, that's different from your bottom of the barrel. I remember getting told by somebody when I was going through a tough time when I was drinking that like, Graham, son, you've not reached the bottom of the barrel yet. I reached the bottom of the barrel, so this alcoholic head and mental health head said, if I've not reached the bottom of the barrel yet, then I've still got a bit to go. So I'm alright just now, so carry on going in what you were doing. His bottom of the barrel was different from mine. I was at rock bottom at that point because I had just tried to commit suicide, so how much more rock bottom can you get? I was at rock bottom, but his perception of my rock bottom was different from his, and it was a dangerous situation because I then went on again to try and commit suicide not long after that. So it's very, very dangerous to compare how bad you're feeling with how bad you're feeling with how bad you're feeling. I think your issues that you had with the OCD was bad for you because it's yours. My issues with committing suicide are bad for me because it's mine, and your issues as well, they're yours. So you can't compare them to somebody else's, and because it's very dangerous to go inside somebody else's head and try and judge how they're feeling compared to how you're feeling.
Definitely, I think as well, when I'm trying to be careful now by being vocal about coming off sertraline, because if you look at the research and people there, they say don't just come off it. That's like quite a bad thing to do, and I've just came to a point where, well, I was also told not to go on it, and then I've done it. But for me, like, is my mental health's been a barrier. It's also been a massive strength. Like, I like a challenge. I like to challenge myself mentally. So for me, doing what I'm doing, I love being fit and active. So that might be like you're saying, you're finding challenges to get fit and active. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that sense of things, I've always loved running about, and so that's my, I don't know, safety net. It's something I like to do. So I think.
Let me ask you both this: like, do you think you're obviously both you highly acknowledge the issues that you've had. To acknowledge them, did that scare the life out of you a little bit, or did it help you accept it?
I would say it helped accept. I went to 2 years ago. I actually thought I was an alcoholic. I had quite a bad experience drinking gin, and I flipped I really went off the rails. It was only a night, but I caused a lot of hurt. And then I questioned myself for a while. I went to different psychologists. This guy said to me he was actually quite worried. I don't know if that helped me, but he was quite worried about the score I gave him, which then passed me on to somebody on the phone or some kind of doctor, and they basically laughed. So they were saying, no, you're not this, and I was like, this really confused me. Then I went to like a proper psychologist who then said, these are just your thoughts, these are just things in your head. Just kind of went, a lot of people think different things, but over a while, when I acknowledged it and accepted it, it made things a lot easier. Like again, then you can build your tools, so that if you know you're feeling down, or if I know I'm got to get angry, I try to breathe, or I've got things that I do. Sometimes it just comes out or whatever, but I think accepting it definitely made things a lot easier.
Yeah.
I hated every minute of it.
Of
Hated
what?
it, of accepting it. Still struggle with it now, to accept that to one, accept that I'm an alcoholic, to two, accept that I've got mental health issues. The accepting of being the alcoholic was difficult because I was putting down the solution. I was putting down the solution to my mental health, because when I drank, it took away the thoughts, and it took away the process of everything that's going on. And on a daily, not daily, but sometimes you wish you just had that mechanism that you could have. I hear people saying, I had a wee glass of wine and chilled out. I can't do that. I've not got that thing. So when I stopped drinking, I had taken away the solution to my mental health.
Yeah.
And then I started going the sober journey, and my mental health really got worse. It got far worse, because not far worse because I didn't try to commit suicide or anything, but I had suicidal thoughts in the first 3 years of sobriety, because I wasn't dealing with the issues. So I accept it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk about it quite a lot, because I don't like it. I don't think anybody likes being mentally ill. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like the fact that I'm an alcoholic. I'm proud of the fact that I'm an alcoholic, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm sober. I don't like it.
It's funny, like, you are someone who's completely overhauled my whole view of addiction. Anytime I encounter anyone with a problem of addiction, I am now questioning, is there a Graham inside that person? Because there's such a... I'm quite proud of you. I'm very proud of you for how much you acknowledge being an alcoholic, because the stigma of being an alcoholic is so unbelievably strong. There's so many assumptions made, and yet you are one of the most reliable, trustworthy... There's a bloody postman interrupting my wonderful speech.
Postman, it looks as if it's a menu for a takeaway. What's the result?
Is that a plan for after? Come on, I'll try to be nice here. But you are one of the most honest, reliable, trustworthy, decent human beings I've ever met in my entire life, and I say that from the very bottom of my heart. So that's really kind of opened my eyes about people who are addicts or who are in recovery. There are good people underneath these labels of addiction and alcoholics and whatnot. So I, it's completely overhauled the way I look at
the people aren't
struggling.
bad. The majority of people aren't nasty. I was a thief. I never cheated physically on my wife, but I cheated mentally on her, because I was lying to her all the time. I was a thief, a liar, and a cheat. And to hear people saying that you're trustworthy and stuff, I still find very hard to deal with. I still do. And you've spoke this to you. I hate people giving me compliments. I hate it, because I'm in my head. I'm still saying I don't want this, because I've been so bad for so long. I mean, I've only been sober for 4 years. I was bad for 15. So how do I want this acceptance and this high five and you're doing brilliant, Graham? Go keep on going. When I remember that I stole off my family, I stole everything. I stole family heirlooms to pawn for drink. So, and then my mum and dad are saying, we're really proud of you. My wife's saying, we're really proud of you. And I'm thinking, I don't deserve it.
I mean, you do take the piss out of me
That's accept. That's to help me.
With hair like this, though, you would. But yeah, you're definitely trustworthy. You're just a bit of a dick sometimes.
But this is it.
I think I can relate to that way. Like, even there's times where the way I speak to my mum, not now, but before, honestly, it's just woof, it just came out, and it's like that's where I've struggled as well with being better. But then when people build you up and say nice things, and you're like, do you know what I used to do and what I was like, and you're, do you know what I mean? They're being so nice and saying you're so wonderful, and I'm like, I appreciate that, and I know I'm doing a good thing, but I'm still not any better than anybody else that's out there. It's just no.
You've got to be wary of that.
And
You're
it's
no
like,
better.
no, do you know what I mean? And I find that hard to deal with.
You were
every
talking
day.
about your mum there. Just sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
You were talking about your mum there in the way you speak to her. My mum fell ill there. She was really badly ill, heart stuff, and for the first time, I'm welling up a bit now, I was crying on the phone to him, and I've never done that with another guy, because I had accepted that she was ill, but I was so scared. I'd never dealt with any of this. One, sober, and two, with a clear mental health, being there, accepting that she might not be here next week, you know. And I spoke with him and I was crying on the phone, and I thought, when I came off the phone, I thought, I've just opened up to somebody there and quite openly was crying, and I wasn't bothered about it. But when the following day, when my mental health was a bit worse, I'm thinking, he'll be laughing at me. Funny how different, isn't it?
Aye.
I'm thinking,
Yep.
I was in a good space when I spoke to Paul, and I thought, that's been good, I've been able to open up to him.
Yeah.
And then the following day, I had a bit of a worry because Mum had just been through the operation and all that sort of stuff, and I'm thinking, he'll be laughing. I know he wasn't, but he'll be laughing at me because I was crying. 2 different days, 2 different reactions.
Which
You know.
is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but that's what I'm saying with the mental health thing. It's dependent on. So on the Monday, I'm feeling good mentally. I've spoke with you, but I've opened up to you. I'm feeling good. I'm happy with what I've done. On the Tuesday, my mental health's a bit down. I'm feeling a bit down in the dumps. I think you're laughing at me. Same situation. Nothing's changed apart from my mental health.
Yeah. If it was anyone else, I'd actually feel insulted by that. But I know.
But you know what I mean?
Like, yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're a
It's
pain in the
that. Well, this is it. I'm a good pain in the
I
ass.
think as well, like, see, no matter you saying even things I've done in the past and you've done, and even Paul, like, people are quite forgiving as well.
Aye, they are.
Like, they are, and it's like, I think it's just getting over that. It's just, do you know what helps me? Like, see, when I'm thinking like that and worrying about am I a good person, I can look at, or there's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He is a big, I don't want to swear, I don't swear, but he is what he is. But he might, I don't know, there's some people that will love him, and
Aye.
there's people that like him, but he does what he does, and there's other people out there, and then I try not to compare to other people, because it's like, they're doing their thing, are they bothered about me, are they losing sleep over me? But I think it's not a bad thing to worry about the people that you think you've hurt, or you know you've hurt, and try to do right, but
Yeah.
I think if it's consuming you, it can be quite difficult.
I thought I was so important that people were talking about me all the time. I thought I was that much of the dog's bollocks that everybody would be speaking about Graham.
Do you
Good
know,
or bad.
going back to something you touched on there, like one of the biggest things that I've found can help your mental health that guys still don't accept and still get embarrassed to talk about, and I know why they're embarrassed, because it's just not very manly, is it? But see, just letting yourself have a wee cry, whether it's letting something out or just a wee tear, like it's very therapeutic, isn't it? Like, it's a total release.
I used to cry a lot when I was drinking.
Aye.
But with Kiddie on.
Really?
Because I would have to turn the waterworks on to get out of the shit I had just created.
Right.
And see, after that, so I had been caught, say money had went missing again, and I'd been caught. I would roll in, get the old tears on, poor me, I hate myself, you know, I hate that. I don't want to be here. The worst part of me with my mental health and the way I was drinking was threatening suicide. It's far worse than what I done when I done it, because I lived in Carlan's head.
Aye.
So see when I forgot where I was going now. I was off on a tangent.
That's fine.
So it's I can't remember.
Come back to it.
Uh,
See how you're saying there about manly, like crime's not
That's
deemed
what
as
I'm
manly. This is where I feel quite strong about that, and I'm trying to break that, not the full thing, but I spoke to somebody yesterday on the phone about that. It's funny, and I was saying, like, it's funny how, do you know what, she's showing weakness, that's a major strength.
Yeah.
She's showing you're crying.
I
I feel like I'm more of a man if I cry, or
See-
if I...
See, when you were talking about your mum a few minutes ago, I was like, oh shit, I'm actually going to well up here in a second. I'm like, I know we're trying to be open here, but I'm like, am I actually going to cry on camera here? Like, because it was reminding me of my dad as well, you know, I was like, oh god. But no, you're right.
It's
That's what it is. I've remembered now.
it's a release, it's an emotion.
I
We'll
was
just keep talking, right? We'll
I
not.
know. I'm remembering.
See-
Just if I keep saying remembering.
so Tony. I
You get.
I
So
no,
one of the things that I'll
no,
just quickly
no,
jump in.
Graham, I've already started. Sorry, mate.
Started, now we'll finish.
I won't cry about it. No, I remember I was down in London a few years ago, and we were down at this. I was with 3 friends, and
Friends.
shut up. You're lucky to have us too, by the way. Read his blog. And we were at this fancy corporate hospitality. It was like a rugby league final or something at Twickenham. And we were all dressed up. It was a beautiful day. There was not a reason in the world to be unhappy or sad or whatever. Life was good. And I remember sitting with my 3 friends, and we were having a drink, and I suddenly had this overwhelming feeling come over me, and it was that I am going to burst into tears here, and I have no idea why. Like, I wasn't drunk, I wasn't even tipsy, there was nothing wrong, and I was like, I am literally going to burst into tears here, and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to kind of put out to people, is like, sometimes, like, mental health is never straightforward, and sometimes there's no logical explanation for it, but sometimes things just happen, don't it? So I managed to not burst into tears, but I remember the next morning, and again, I wasn't hungover. We hadn't had too big a night, just a couple of drinks and dinner, and the next morning, I literally could not stop crying. Like, I wasn't wailing or anything, but I literally could not stop crying. The tears were streaming down my face, and it literally went on for about 2 hours or something, and then I spent the day locked up in my hotel room, and I realised it was to do with issues from when I was a teenager that I had never dealt with, and they must have literally been bubbling away inside me for, I was 25, 26 at this point, and it was to do with stuff from when my mum had a sort of period of ill health when I was like 17, 18, and I knew it was something kind of underlying that I'd never really addressed. Basically, I had always had this guilt that I wasn't really there for her, because I'd just started uni and got swept away in the whole first year freshers madness, and was loving life, and sort of left a lot of things at home for other people to deal with when I should have been there, and I always had this guilt about it, and I literally bottled it away for years and years. Never spoke to my mum about it, never spoke to my sister or my dad about it. And then one day, on this beautiful summer's day in London, I'm in a hotel, or I'm at this rugby league final, and I just could not stop crying, and it was to do with something that happened 5 or 6 years ago. I'm like, how bizarre is that? And my point is, like, it just isn't straightforward, and it's like, if you do ignore things or don't address things, you just never know when it might come out. So don't be scared to open up, don't be scared to have a wee cry about it. But the best thing I could have done was actually just to have spoken to my mum about it, you know, like...
The way that I see that, and when I've remembered what I was going to say, but I'll get back to that bit, is when you've got shit happening, and you're not dealing with it, so you just put it into the bag, you know, and eventually the bag that you're carrying about with you full of shit gets too big, and it's got to come out. I had it for years and years and years, and we were talking about the crying thing. I cry crocodile tears, as I was saying, all the time. I was a master at it. But when I get sober and I didn't have any reason to be turning on the waterworks, I found it very hard to get emotional.
Yeah.
Because I'd done so much to change the way that I felt before. So if I wanted to feel sad in front of people, I would get the waterworks going. But then when you stop and a year later you're expected to feel sad about something, you find it very hard, because you've got so used to it. The hardest one I found was, this is going to sound bizarre, is happiness. I suppressed happiness because I was frightened to feel happy, because I felt as if I didn't deserve to feel happy. So if I started feeling a bit content and a bit happy and a bit elated, I would change it. And this is only last year. So you know, it just shows you that it's very hard, and you need to deal with the stuff at the time. I never dealt with emotions when I stopped drinking. I just suppressed them. I love it now because I can express myself, and And what I think is we spoke about earlier on is surrounding yourself with those people that you can do it to, and people that you can speak to. I had surrounded myself with people from a pub life. Not really interested.
The problem is if you cry on the phone to me, I'm probably going to start crying as well, and we're just going to be two big Waynes crying on the phone down at each other.
Yeah, that's alright though, because see if I come off the
better
phone
than
and
bottling it up.
if I come off the phone and I feel better, it's job done. You know, and
It's
I've got
true.
something out rather than me putting it into the shit bag and carrying it about with me.
Are you guys taking bets yet on whether one of us will cry by the end of this?
I'm actually got to start crying because I don't get any phone calls, so this is quite. I'm just going to do it here. I'm quite open about crying. You want to see a guy cry? I think one thing for me, like going back on crying, showing emotion and being yourself. A few things I learned from I worked at camp in America. It was with kids and adults with disabilities. My first year there, I was nearly crying at the thought of going, not because I was going to be working with people with disabilities, whether I could actually provide the care for them. I was worried about like total care, talking about like everything you could think of. And I was like, can I actually do this for somebody? But I got there, the first camper coming up the hill, he took a right at a cabin, pulled his zip down and started peeing. I didn't start crying, but a few girls did. And I was like, what have I got ourselves in for? But as we got to know like this initial group of people, it was incredible because one thing they taught me is about being yourself. So you had campers that were, like you were saying about the OCD. One guy had OCD, I can't remember his other disabilities, but one of the things he used to do, he was also deaf, so he done sign language. One of the things he used to do was jump in the pool, or go in the pool, get wet, come out the pool, and the round the pool you can imagine this square, it was sectioned off. He would fill this square, go back in the pool, fill the other square, back in the pool, fill, and that was his thing. And you look at that and you go, that's quite bizarre, and it's fascinating. And it's like, do you know what? He's doing his thing. He's came on his holiday and he's doing his thing. Too many guys are scared. They're in groups and they're scared to go, do you know what? I don't want to go to the pub tonight. I don't want to do this. They're in that wee mentality. Yeah. And a couple of weeks later, we were working with it was the people that depended on like wheelchairs and things. Their mobility wasn't the best. Some people had muscular dystrophy, different levels. Like some it was minor, some people had like Duchenne's. It was quite. It kind of took over their body, but their brains were fine, their mouths were fine, they were funny. So these were a group of young boys, and I was helping them go to the toilet. So these are young guys who are boisterous, but they can't physically get themselves to the toilet. I had to sit with a boy who kept turning around to see if he'd done a jobby because he had constipation. Basically, that was it. This is the story. He kept looking about, and he wasn't embarrassed about that. Like, I was trying to help him.
Embarrassed that you just said jobby.
I know, but the toilet, a poo, I don't know.
Stop.
But so that was that for me, taught me a lot. And then see when they left, and I was heartbroken they were leaving, and I just looked and I was waving, and one of the guys gave me the middle finger, and I thought they've accepted me.
Arrived.
And then I just turned to the director and I went, is it okay to cry at camp? But he couldn't see my eyes because of my hood, and I was bubbling away. And then I think it's
nice.
it's then you realise like it's okay for these things. It's okay to cry. It's alright to let
It is
it
now.
Happiness source.
aye.
We had an interesting scenario recently, didn't we, when we went out, and because most of the time we spend together, I was going to say it's doing something physical. I said so bad. We usually but it's usually.
I'm alright if I don't get that phone call.
No, I know. I really should just shut up sometimes, but it's usually an activity.
Is this you talking about squash or trampolining?
Yeah, we went trampolining, which was weird. But you know what I mean, it's usually fitness related. I'm still not doing any favours, but what am I trying to say? Yeah, so we went out to the Stand recently for a comedy night, and I'm really not a big drinker at all. And I remember thinking in my head, I don't want an alcoholic drink, but I don't want Graham to think that I'm not drinking because of him. And then it's like you start, and it's like even someone who I know I can tell absolutely anything, I'm sat there worrying about this situation in my head. And I asked for a fizzy water, didn't I? And you were like, you actually gave me into trouble for not drinking alcohol.
Aye.
and I was like, and I remember thinking, right, and I had a vodka and coke, and I remember thinking, I really wanted that fizzy water. Like,
That's why I'm an alcoholic. I can't understand why anybody would go on a night
Yeah.
out and no drink. That's why I still find it bizarre, but that's my mind though.
But I'm like, I'm just not a big drinker.
Oh.
But it's funny how you overthink these situations.
I had it in the
you know?
situation when I stopped drinking, that there was a family dinner, and there was the first family dinner since I had stopped drinking, and I walked into the dining room and everybody had their drink, and I thought, I just had to say to them, look, I didn't stop drinking, and I don't expect you to drink. I didn't want anybody being any different round about me for what they were. I'm an alcoholic. I drank
For
mentally.
you, wasn't it? For
I drank mentally, and I don't expect anybody else to stop. And I find it bizarre when people leave drink. I find it bizarre when people have a fizzy water. But that's
just me.
That's why I'm an alcoholic, because I can't understand how you would want to go on a night out and no get absolutely shit faced.
Aye.
You know, that's I can't. I still find it bizarre. I'm out on a night out and I see somebody changing a drink to a water, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're on the journey here.
See, that's quite interesting you say that, because me, I don't think I'm going to. Well, I've decided I'm going to go teetotal. It just doesn't agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
I've got different things going on, but it stops me functioning for like days.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 1, 2, 3, it's not like I can be fine. You always say that, 3 drinks I'm fine, but 5 days I could be like just so low, and not low, just kind of like a zombie, like you can't function.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's an issue in itself, where there are people out there that have got real problems with that, and they don't want to say.
Well, the hardest
And
thing
it's
to
like
accept
a-
it.
Do you know what I mean?
It's
It's
the
quite.
hardest thing ever to say. You know, I'm an alcoholic and I can't stop drinking. Or it's. I remember that I had accepted it in Tenerife, and man, I couldn't remember how sick I felt, and it wasn't drink. It was sick that the fact that I was an alcoholic. I could not believe I had became an alcoholic. You know, because I had this perception of an alcoholic in my head, which was no disrespect to anybody, but it was somebody that lay in a gutter that was covered in piss.
Aye.
No me. And I had became that. You know, and that. It still is. Sometimes I still think, how did it happen? It can screw you up a bit when you start thinking, how did that? When did the point come where I flipped over from a heavy drinker to an alcoholic?
See that like, see people's opinions of you of being an alcoholic. Does that? How do you deal with that? Does it affect you?
It used to really bother me, Tony. It used to really bother me, because I was a people pleaser. I was more interested in what somebody else thought about me than what I thought about myself. So them thinking that I was an alcoholic, and their perception of an alcoholic, which would have been exactly the same as mine, that somebody that was a tramp, that bothered me, that somebody else thought that I could possibly be like that. Really bothered me. Still does to a certain. That's one of the things that I need to sort out, as well as I need to stop being so worried about what everybody else thinks of me. It's nice to be liked, but not everybody's going to like you. And that still bothers me today. I've became a bit more cagey about who I tell about the alcoholism, because I'm frightened that they'll judge me.
Can we take a 2-minute break?
Aye, yeah.
As much as we want to encourage guys to open up and start talking to each other and start, being honest, we realise that not everyone is at that point, or that people need to ease into that, and it's baby steps into it. And I guess that's where the app can be really useful. It's very private, or it can be very private if you want it to be. Go on, and I guess it could probably really help you identify what you feel, what is actually wrong with you, and what you maybe need to do to start helping yourself.
I think that for me, if I had the app when I was at my rock bottom, it would have been a huge help, because I thought I was abnormal. I thought I was unique. I thought there was something seriously wrong with me, but I thought I was the only person in the world to have these feelings. And see if I was able to go onto my phone and find out a bit of information about what I was feeling. If I was able to type in, I'm feeling suicidal, but I don't know why, or I'm feeling suicidal because of an action I've done. you know, and I was able to get an explanation online, and even to the extent that I was able to go and phone somebody without anybody else knowing. I know there's a lot of numbers online and things like that you can use, but if you've had an app on your phone to say, I'm going to give this person a phone and go and have a quiet word, I'm in bother.
I think, well, for me, like, even if I'm ever feeling low, there's days that even if my mum or brother try and phone me, I'll just not answer the phone. But I've got this thing where it's like, don't worry about me, I just don't want to speak. But if you've got an app, one, you don't need to speak to somebody on the phone unless you really need to, and there's a number there. But like you're saying, if it's got the information there that might trigger something for you, you might look at something else that you might not have thought of. So you might be thinking, oh, I think I'm this, but oh wait, that makes a bit more sense, and it might just put you at ease a little bit.
Yeah. It would be brilliant that the fact that, see if you are thinking something and it's kind of got a lead to it, so you've got this horrible thought, I can't live with this anymore, I can't do this anymore. The easy way out is to go and take pills. That's my own thing. That's what I would have done. I'll go and take pills, or I'll go and try and cut my wrists, or I'll go and try and do something. If I was able to go onto the phone and it takes away that mind thought of I'm going to kill myself, so you start reading about this. At the point I know where I would be at, I would have no intention of phoning anybody at that point. You know, when I'm reading this, I would, because I just wouldn't do it. But then when you're reading this and you say, you know what, you know, that trigger could happen or will happen, that I'm reading this here and there is something wrong with me here. Oh, there's a phone number, I'm going to give them a phone.
Or even that, or even practical,
you know what I mean?
Practical things that might say, right, I'll maybe try and go out a walk, put on your favourite song, maybe try deep breathing, something that you might find there that might just help calm you down, just to give you that bit of peace.
And it's discreet, and nobody knows
discreet
what you're doing.
For all the help and advice that you'll get, one of the biggest things though is the realisation that you are not alone.
That's huge.
You know, we're sat here just now, 3 best mates. You couldn't meet any 3 more different people in your life. You know, Tony's suffered from depression, Graham alcoholism, I have issues with light switches. But you know, but that's what you'll find. You'll find men who, not all of them will even have had serious problems. You know, as I've said myself, you know, I feel very fortunate, but just because I haven't suffered from major mental health issues doesn't mean that I'm not interested in opening up. And you know, this is why I'm involved in this project in the first place, is because it's something that means a lot to me. You know, even through knowing yourselves, you know. But you will find so many people, and I think what that will also do is actually help you accept the issues that you've got.
There could be there'll be other things on there that that guys struggle to talk to each other about, and I've not really got a filter. But when I was down,
that's the worst cup of tea.
My sexual drive, my sex drive was at rock bottom. You know, and I'm in a relationship, it's a sexual relationship. I wouldn't speak to anybody else about that.
Yeah.
But if I had the thing and I spoke to somebody about it, or I was able to read something and saying the way that you're feeling, or your mood, or your mental health can affect your sex drive, because it's very hard for a guy to admit that his sex drive's at rock bottom because he's struggling. You know, and if you've got that thing there to say, you know what, that this is it's normal. You know, it's normal to be feeling down in the dumps and not want to have sex with your partner. There's nothing wrong, because sometimes you can judge whether you start. It goes as far as sometimes you can judge whether you love somebody because you don't want to have sex with them.
Do you know,
and it can have a massive knock-on effect.
When I really think about it, and I know obviously we would say this anyway because we are promoting the app, but in all honesty, if you think about addressing mental health issues, one of the toughest things is taking that first step of getting help. And the app in a way is a first step in getting help, and what it's done is it's completely simplified the process. Like, it's very difficult to go to a doctor or to even go to a friend and sort of saying I'm struggling with my mental health. But if you have this app that will allow you to acknowledge or get more information about mental health, then that in itself is a first step, you know.
It's dehumanised it.
I think I totally agree with that, because everything is a lot of things now is on your phone. A lot of people reach for their phone through anything, whether it's to Google something, whether it's to find clothing, whether it's to go out, eat. So it's kind of playing to that now. It's kind of playing to that audience, that the audience there is for being on your phone. And I think that seeing other people who are going through things who you might have looked at on the street and went, they're never suffering for that, they've never get that, and it's like, well, he does this and that, but he struggles to get up in the morning, or he looks like a fit and healthy guy, but he can't have sex with his partner for some reason. Like, and I might go, do you know what?
It hugely, an app's never going to judge you. Whereas if I was always worried.
You've never been on Tinder, have you?
Been married for a long time. Happily.
An app's never going to.
You know, but no, a mental health app's not going to judge you, is it?
It's not. It's not.
So, if I was to go to a doctor, even when my mental health was recently, I always think the doctor's judging me. The doctor thinks I'm a dafty because I'm saying I'm struggling and all that. If I was to go to somebody else, I'm worried about what they're thinking about me. Yeah. Because I'm opening up to them and saying, I'm a guy here and I'm struggling, which isn't easy for a guy to do. Yeah. But whereas if you've got an app there that's no laughing at you, no, people don't laugh at you, but I think they do. So I'm thinking that's just the way that you are, that's just the way that I am. So if you've got an app, it's not going to judge you.
There's a real stigma even just about the term mental health. It's just the word mental, isn't it? Like, as soon as you hear that word, people just go, something's not right there, you know.
It's a horrible one.
But what people forget is that mental health and physical health, it all comes under the health bracket. Something can go wrong in your mind just as easily as it can go wrong in your heart or your kidneys or anything, you know. Like, it's all part of you know.
Well, I definitely believe that for you to be physically active, whether you want to put it in a percentage, your mental health has to be higher a percentage than the physical. So say you think of it's 51% compared to 49%. If your physical health is at 60 but your mental health is 40, that's going to soon go back down again because you won't be able to be physically active. So if your mind's not in it, you're just not going to be able to do anything. I think it's
the thing is, if you're thinking bad thoughts, you get weak. You do. If you're feeling down in the dumps, and if you're feeling that you can't be bothered getting out, you're going to physically feel terrible.
Yeah. It's like you watch all these videos on Facebook and YouTube, and it's you know, all these motivational videos about mindset and mentality and all that, and it's like that's the mind as well. So why do we look so positively and so constructively at these Conor McGregor? I mean, I do love Conor McGregor, but like, you know, you see all these this winning mentality thing. That's all part of the mindset. So why do we then look down on mental health issues? It's actually all under the same topic, you know?
I think as well, I can't speak for Conor McGregor, but there'll be things in a lot of people's head that it's not all just the great stuff you see, it's not all the amazing things. And I think with an app that's got to show real people, real experiences, can maybe hopefully people can relate to a bit easier, rather than it's just all...
It's a win-win situation. You don't need to use it all the time, but it's there. You know it's there as a crutch. You know, and that's what I would certainly be using it as a crutch to check something or find out how I could possibly help myself a bit better than what I already am. Because as I said, my mental health is evolving, changes day to day. It changes, but if you have another wee thing or something that you're not completely sure about, it's easy to look at that. And then I think if I looked at the app and it was to tell me something that I was feeling and it gave me a solution, then I think I would find it easier to speak to somebody.
And I think see, we having the app, I think the app can make a big difference. And even if you've got a friend, have you ever been concerned about a friend and you says you've found a number for them, you give them the number, do you think they've actually phoned that number? No. But see, if you give them by the way, there's the app, have a look at that. There's more chance they've got to download it, they don't need to speak to somebody. And it's a bit,
I get it quite a lot.
Better than handing someone a pamphlet.
Yeah, a pamphlet, and it's a bit scary, and then it's got numbers. And
I hate that word, pamphlet. Must be my OCD.
I was going to say that. I mean, do I talk about it?
No, it's a really creepy word, isn't it? Pamphlet. But yeah, and you can download the app by clicking here. Now you must add a link, Duncan. done
This is-
dishes.
Gather the
Yeah.
dishwasher.
Alright.
Can I get like some